Breaking news this hour, then a Parisian court convicted Christine Lagarde of one count of negligence over her handling of a multi-million-dollar dispute when she was France's finance minister. Though the judge says the IMF chief will not face a fine or a jail sentence, the question means, what does this mean for her future at the top of the IMF? For more, Bloomberg's Andrew Maeda joins us now on the phone from Washington, D.C. The IMF, the future of Christine Lagarde, the decision is out, Andrew. What are the implications for her future at the top of the IMF?
Well, I think there's no question this is a serious blow to her and to the fund. It certainly creates headaches for her, creates headaches for the fund's executive board. That being said, as you mentioned, she has not been sentenced to a prison term. She has not been fined. And the indications I was receiving going in was that the executive board would continue to support her as long as she was able to continue to do her job. So, I mean, so long as she's not in an orange jumpsuit, I mean, the indications I was receiving was that the board would continue to support her, and at this point, at least, that's my expectation.
Andrew, we've had a couple of comments from Mohamed Al-Arian, of course, the Bloomberg View columnist, who wrote on Facebook that she should remain as the managing director of the IMF, and it shouldn't be about that. She should remain because she has done, according to him, a very good job. But for him, there is an issue here. This is the third IMF managing director in recent past to face legal issues. And in his words, if only for the credibility of the institution, there is an urgent need to properly modernise the managing director selection process. Is there something wrong with the process, and is it too political?
That's a fair point, I think, but that sounds to me like it's a separate issue. I mean, the issue of whether the managing director of the IMF should no longer be a European and that the fund should widen the pool of candidates that it considers and should finally have somebody from a major emerging market. I mean, that's certainly a valid point, but I think that that's separate from, the question of her leadership at the head of the IMF. I mean, I can tell you that the executive board has a lot of faith in Christine Lagarde. They see her as an asset. She's a very politically savvy person in addition to understanding how the global economy works. I think that they see her as enabling the IMF to punch above its weight in terms of its macroeconomic analysis and at the G20 table. And really the question is, if Christine Lagarde is not at the head of the IMF, who would be? You bring a Trump administration into play. Who are they likely to back? It's a scenario that I think that the board might be worried about.
Andrew, do you know whether she has a contract, and if so, whether they could move her out without writing a very big check?
She does have a contract. She was renewed for 5 years earlier this year, and under the terms of appointment, she serves at their pleasure. She serves at their discretion. They have the ability to terminate her at any time.
Bloomberg's Andrew Maeda joining us out of D.C. on the latest as Christine Lagarde is convicted of negligence in a Paris court. The question remains whether she will remain the managing director of the IMF board to meet imminently, you would assume, to discuss the event.
And if she remains, will it undermine her authority? There's also the appearance issue and whether she will have the same authority she otherwise would.
Full coverage right here on Bloomberg on that story as the hours progress. Nearly 25 minutes into the session. Let's get you up to speed on the market action, shall we? After 6 weeks of gains on the Dow, we're up 0.2% as we kick off the penultimate trading week of 2016. Looking ahead to 2017, a lot of optimism. Will President-elect Donald Trump deliver? In the bond market, we look like this ahead of Fed Chair Janet Yellen's speech a little bit later. Treasury's bid yields down by 4 basis points to 255 on a 10-year, and a dollar stronger. From New York and a Daybreak team, this is Bloomberg.